All right, guys, we're back and we're live. Welcome back to our daily live feed as you are logging on. If you'd like to come work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits, and posing, all the fun stuff when it comes to competing. I have Miss Jordan Brannon with me tonight again, just like last week. So say hello when you guys log on. And Jordan, would you like to say a little tagline for yourself?
I don't have a tagline. No.
No.
Hi, everybody.
No taglines.
No, just Jordan Brannon here.
What's up, Brandy? So, as we're getting logged on here, we always wait about 3 minutes or so for the notifications to come up and things like that. For those of you that are logging on Instagram, we're live over on YouTube and Facebook. You'll be able to see Jordan if you go over there. If you're on Instagram, you're not going to be able to see her because there's no screen sharing. There's no that stuff on Instagram right now. So go on over to YouTube or Facebook. It's a much more user-friendly platform. We will be screen sharing tonight because we are going to wrap up both Texas and Nashville, because Jordan was in Texas in person and I was in Nashville in person. So we're going to be able to get the live on the ground kind of feedback and all of that. What's up, Gracie, Stephanie, and Holly? Welcome. As you're logging on, say hello, get involved. This is always interactive, so feel free to say hi and ask questions and all of that. What's up, Ebony? You can see our QR code up in the corner. I can't point to it because Jordan's head is over it. So I gotta go this way. There you go. It's over there.
Right
it's
here.
Over there. There you go. There you go. She got it. So our QR code there is for Cuties Conquer the Stage 2024. If you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to our pre-registration page. Facebook name is Sean's Couture Cuties. If you look up Sean's Couture Cuties on Facebook, you'll see us live right on the front page of Facebook. So that QR code will take you to our pre-registration page for Cuties Conquering the Stage. You put your name, email address in. That gets you all the information. That gets you an invite into our private Facebook group where there's exclusive content there. And Jordan will be one of our speakers again this year. So she will be there live in person. So will I, obviously.
In person.
Live in person. What's up, guys? What's up? But, so before we get into tonight's wrap up and all of that, one of the reasons why we came on, there's no code on Instagram. It's over on YouTube and Facebook. So like I said, you can watch on Instagram. You just don't get all the frills on Instagram. It's just my face on Instagram. So you got to go to YouTube or Facebook to get all the frills. I'm making it my business to be at CCTS 2024. It is the place to be for sure. So, yes. So guys, after last week's live stream, we got quite a bit of positive feedback. So we decided to do this again this week. And through discussion and talking and all of that stuff. Hold on. I don't even know if I saved this or not. Oh, I did. Like before I announce anything, I'm like, did I save this? I did. Okay. So, we are going to actually start. Let's see. Oh, hold on. I don't want that.
Drum roll, please.
I know, drum roll. Like, wait. I'm like, I swear. Hold on a second. There it is. Okay. Ta-da!
Yay!
We're going to start our own little podcast for you guys. So, the reason I'm showing you this right now is because we want to get your input. What this is basically going to be is, as you can see, it's called Behind the Bikini. So we're going to talk about stuff that has to do with competing, but not competing as well. Life, relationships, travel, whatever. Everything having to do with you, with us, with all of the things that we go through in life. And so we need your input as far as what you would like us to talk about. So we're going to do this about once a week. It is not going to be a live broadcast, and we're going to film it and then we're going to post it so you guys can pin it and watch it for your cardio theater and all that fun stuff. So feel free to send in any questions, anything that you'd like us to cover, any topics that you would like us to cover. You're welcome to type into the comments here, or you can send them to us privately, whatever you'd like to do. Feel free to do that. Because we want to make this something where, you can get to know us a little bit, but also we're going to bring you some educational stuff so that you feel like you're learning, you feel like you're gaining something from it. and that we're answering your questions, because I know that there's a lot of stuff out there. Sometimes you just don't know what to ask. So you don't know who to ask, or all those kinds of things. So feel free to send those in. Like I said, you can type them into the comments here too. I'll pay attention and make sure that I make notes of that. But we're going to start filming this, weekly. Once a week, and get it out to you guys so that you have something to watch. Again, we were thinking we'll get them out so you can watch them over the weekend, like when you're going to shows or doing your cardio or whatever it might be. So anything else you'd like to add on that, Jordan?
No, I mean, this is something that Sean and I were talking about that we think is just really, there's not something like this right now. And, I told Sean that I wanted to do a little bit more and get involved. And so I'm really, really excited to do this with Sean. And, she already, has all of you guys in such an amazing platform. So I feel really honored that, we're going to be able to do this together and, kind of bring just some different education and connect with you guys again, just more and more.
Yeah. And that was one thing, like I said, after the feedback and stuff that we've gotten last week, and just from having her at CCTS this past year, I know how we're able to banter a little bit, you know what I mean? So we have a good ebb and flow, and I think we have good perspectives and unique perspectives, but also can come together and have a similar goal in mind for ourselves and for the people that we work with, and just the sport in general, that kind of thing. So, and we look badass in the photo. Well, thank you.
Sean made it, and I was like, oh no.
So it'll be fun. It'll be something that we will adapt and grow as we go along. So again, feel free to send in any questions, anything that you'd like us to cover and talk about. And we'll talk about current events and things like that too. It won't just be, show wrap-ups and stuff like that. It'll be more in-depth kind of thing. So there you go. Yeah, your cardio entertainment. I love it. Yes.
That's it.
Our biggest thing is we just want to make this a consistent thing for you guys so that you can come back and you can watch every week and get involved and hopefully make this a regular thing on your cardio theater. Right?
I love that. Cardio theater. I've never heard that.
You don't do that, so you don't save the podcast and things like that? You do?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just saying, like, everybody does that, Scott. You got to have your cardio theater, right?
Yeah. Especially, well, now I just know it's called cardio theater. I'm going to use that.
There you go. I mean, even when you're at the gym, I don't know about your gyms, your gym that you have there, but some of the ones they have like the actual TVs and stuff on their treadmills and everything, so you can actually watch YouTube and all that right there. So, and we're getting some suggestions in here already, so that's fantastic. Keep those coming.
I love that.
And like I said, you can send them to us privately too, whatever you want to do. And we'll make sure that we cover those topics for you. And like I said, we'll cover current events, things that are going on in the sport, things that are going on in the world, things, whatever, all the things. So if you guys ever watch like the guys, like there's specifically like Bro Chat out there. For those of you that watch Bro Chat, I know a lot of you guys do. I watch Bro Chat. So I'll just give them a little plug right here.
Me too.
Yeah, it's going to be like that. So, we'll bring on guests and things like that too, as we go along, and, just see kind of how it evolves. We're going to let it kind of evolve on its own and just see where it takes us. Cool. All right. So there's our announcement. I wanted to get that out like first thing. Yay.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. So with that, we're going to go into the show wrap up tonight. We are going to cover wellness and bikini at Texas. And then we're also going to cover bikini in Nashville. Because again, I was there in person in Nashville, and Jordan was there in person in Texas. So we're going to start with Nashville. Let me pull up, I have NBC News Online up here somewhere. Let me find it. Make sure I got the right one. It's always fun times. This is Nashville. Perfect. I got it right here. So let me close that down real quick. And there we go. Okay. So, results here. We have Ariana Brothers that won this show. Now, again, I was there in person. So, the way I wanted to kind of do this is I wanted to get Jordan's thoughts first, and then I'll kind of say if I agree or disagree or what I saw in person, that kind of thing, as far as what the ladies looked like and all of that. So we'll cover our top five in each of these shows and divisions. So starting with Elizabeth, who is, that's comparisons. We don't want comparisons. Who was fifth. So let me pull up a good front shot of her. Now, one thing I love about the Nashville Fit Show is that it's an all-female show. So it's very girly and feminine, and it's phenomenal as far as the show is concerned itself. And of course they're not, oh, for some reason, there we go. Okay, now it's opening. I was like, I can't get the freaking picture to open. So hang on. There we go.
Technical difficulties.
I know, it's always something, right? Okay, so here's Elizabeth's front pose here. So what do you see with this front pose? And what do you like? What don't you like? What would you change? All that kind of stuff.
I think this is a great package. You know, I definitely think there is some posing things that could be tweaked. I think overall, though, I like the suit color. I like the tan. I know that there has been some commentary. I believe this is a wig. So I know that some people were talking about that, and, you know, just that it needed to be laid a little bit differently, just so that, you know, it looks a little bit more seamless. I don't love the back arm here. And then just maybe some, you know, adjustments with the posing to kind of maybe streamline the legs a little bit better. But overall, I know this is one of her first shows out this season, if not the first one of this season. And it was a great package for her. So she can only fine tune from here.
Yeah. And I would agree with you. I think from the front, she was very stunning as far as her shape is concerned. Few things, like she has the rib cage poking out here in the front pose. That's where my eye goes immediately, is the rib cage.
100%.
So it's like, I get where you'd want to pull the waistline in and everything like that, but you have to be careful about that rib cage poking out. For those of you that don't know, I mean, I have this issue too. I have a rib cage likes to stick out. So when you have that, you look almost like you're anorexic. You know what I mean? It's just not a good look. So you gotta be careful of it. Yeah, you got to be careful. You just don't want to look like you're sick, right? So there's ways to prevent that when you do your posing, so that you don't look really sucked in and look like you're dieted hard, that kind of thing. So Amanda, as far as fixing the rib issue, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And each person's going to be a little bit different. You know, one of the things that we do is the whole zipping of the rib cage and just kind of pushing in on the rib cage and holding. So it's like a breathe out and in so that you're tight. But that's not always the right answer for some people. Some people, they just over vacuum, and all you got to do is just not vacuum and you'll be fine. But you just have to kind of look at each person individually and see what it is that where that comes from. Your thoughts on that, Jordan?
Rib flare too. Some people, or some clients of mine, it's when they try to over arch in their hips and their glutes, and then they create that rib flare. So it's actually a little bit less arch or less pelvic tilt. Kind of playing with that, and then all of the other things that you said too. When you have that kind of rib flare thing, it's that very fine line of those little small details to make what your physique looks best.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yep. And also, yes, I agree with the wig. You could tell from the audience that it was a wig. There's nothing wrong with wearing a wig. I actually encourage it quite a bit. It just has to be put on correctly. It has to be laid correctly. It needs to be really good quality so that it doesn't look like a wig on stage. Things like that. So the wig situation, totally fine. Just needs better execution. That's all. So overall, really pretty package, though. I would probably bump her glam up as well. With the hair situation with her, it's covering her face too much. And I just felt like I wanted to see more of her. And I wanted to see more of just give me more. Give me more face. Give me more face.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that you say that, I could totally see that too. She could have definitely been a little bit brighter in the face and more face. And she's a beautiful girl. I've seen her. I mean, she's gorgeous. So yeah, just more of her. Absolutely.
Yep. And that's it. You know, that's the problem with having the wig laid incorrectly as well, because it just kind of covers everything up. So let's get a back pose for her too. Let's see. Okay, here's a good back pose. There we go. Okay, so what do you see here with the back pose?
So I have one up too. I'm wondering if you see the same. And something that I did see on the live stream is that her left tie-in looked a little bit longer than the right, which could be a posing thing. I can't tell. Her right foot might be a little bit farther back here from the left. So that just kind of, my eye is always good at the tie-ins, obviously. Yeah, I think this is great. I think, again, just some little posing details. You know, I do think the calves look a little off here too. I don't know. My eyes just go to that.
No, I think you're right. I think she's a little off with her stance. I think she's got her left foot is forward a little bit. Her right foot is back a little bit. Then it creates a little bit of an imbalance there.
Yes. Almost like her hips are a little uneven too.
Yes. It looks like that too. which is interesting. Oh no, that's actually, that makes sense. I was going to say, because it looks to me like her right glute is a little bit bigger than her left. When you look at her front pose, she's posing on her left side. So you see that a lot, where if you pose a lot on one side, that glute on that side in the back tends to be a little bit smaller.
Interesting.
Because you have that, because again, I know it's personal experience. You have that impingement there. So it actually becomes harder to connect your brain to that glute. So it's when you have an impingement in your lower back, and it cuts the nerve off almost. So, it makes it more difficult to actually activate that glute. So that glute ends up being a little bit smaller than the other. I know that was my case, and I've been working on it for like 3 years to correct it. So,
Wow.
So that's why I tell, like Gracie right here, that's why I tell people, all my clients, that you need to be posing on both sides of your front pose.
Pose on both sides. Absolutely.
Even if you're not going to put it on stage, it doesn't matter. It's just about making sure that you're balanced from side to side. And then I would also say, I feel like it's almost like her chest is coming forward, right, on her upper body.
Yes.
So I would just stand up. I would just stand up tall.
Yep.
And that's it.
Which is really easy corrections for this one. She keeps going. It's just posing polish, Yep.
And I think those couple of things could help. I do think she probably needs more glutes, because to me, she's a little bit leg heavy. But I don't think she needs to downsize her legs. I think she needs to bring her glutes up. So I would say just add more glutes, but also a few posing tweaks could help with that too. Some of these are just like a what if, because we don't know. We need to see these poses differently. If we saw the poses done differently, then it could be a different pose altogether, right?
Yep. How full is she? It's first, show the season.
Yes.
Maybe they went a little bit light. So there's lots of tricks I'm sure they could still play here.
Lots of little things. But again, it's just little tiny details that would take her. And again, 5th place is not bad. That would take her up a couple of notches, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move on to
Rhoda.
Yep. So this was 4th place. This is Rhoda, and I'll say, I did my Spotify while I was there. I'm looking for a full front pose, and I don't know if they have one. And I noticed her immediately when she walked out.
She's beautiful.
Just stunning. Has a beautiful frame, beautiful look. It's a very natural look. It's a very, like, she's not trying too hard. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain that exactly, but it's almost like she just showed up and looks that great.
Yes. She makes it look easy. Yes.
So this is the closest we have to a full front pose. It's not a full length, so we can't get the other ones. She's in between. She's transitioning. So, from what you saw from the live stream, what would you say as far as her look, and what would you want to change with it?
Yeah, I agree. She came out and I just was like, wow, that shape. I mean, she's just got beautiful shape from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she maybe could have been a hair leaner, a hair more conditioned maybe. That was literally the only thing that I had come into my brain. But other than that, I was really happy with this, more in the back shot. And maybe when we see in the back shot, you'll see the lower half too. And maybe bring the legs down a little bit. Those were really like my only things that I saw, or bring up the upper body to just kind of balance out. Mostly what I see is in the back pose. The front pose to me is great.
So real quick, to those of you that are on Instagram, like I said, she's on YouTube and Facebook. So that's why you can't hear her. You need to go over to YouTube and Facebook. So Instagram is not the best platform. We just have it up so that you have it. But if you really want to watch it and see everything, go to YouTube and Facebook. That's where you're going to see all of this. You're going to see all the screen sharing. You're going to see her. You can see me. You're going to see all of it. So go over to YouTube, Facebook. So to piggyback on what you just said, yeah, I mean, from the front, I think she looked really spot on. She could have been maybe just a touch leaner, like you said, and then popped it out, filled it out a little bit more, but that's a maybe. She just has a stunning look regardless. I think that the majority of the front pose is fine. I don't think there's a whole lot to change from the front. I think from the back is where, like you said, legs, she's a little bit leg heavy from the back. She has a phenomenal shape from the back, phenomenal glute shape, all of that. But again, I think that her legs are probably a little bit bigger than they need to be. Let me get a back pose up so you can see it. There we go.
She's got the density, just needs to be a little bit sharper and maybe bring it down like the hamstrings a little bit.
Yep. That's why I said if she was just a little bit leaner, just a touch leaner, and then she could have filled it out and popped it a little bit more, I think that would have made a difference.
Huge difference.
Because I don't think she, like, as far as the conditioning is concerned, I don't think she's really, really off. I just think it's a matter of just little teeny tiny fine tuning. And even here, like what I'd like to see is I'd like to see a little bit of separation between like the quads and the glutes. Like all I see is glutes going straight into legs. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yes.
So, I just like to see a little bit of difference there. And I think that comes from the conditioning being just go a little touch leaner and just pop it a little bit more. And then you can see a
little bit more full. For sure.
What do you think about the upper half of the back pose?
Yeah, I don't love the arms here. I think that maybe we can slide the hands down or widen the elbows out a little bit. We're losing rear delt here, and I can see she has rear delts. Yep. You can see if you're really looking. So just some posing tweaks, and then I think the upper body would be more matched to the lower body. Right now, it looks completely imbalanced. She has the tissue; she just has to show it correctly.
Correct. And that could be the difference too, right there. We were talking about the legs and the glutes and stuff. Just fixing that upper body could end up making her a little bit more balanced, like you said, and that could fix everything right there too. So just trying that out.
Maybe a placing or two.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Bring down the arms a little, and then you got the shoulders popping out. I think you're good. I think it's just a matter of relaxing the elbows a little, sliding those arms down a little. So she has longer limbs, like she has the longer arms, longer legs. So you can't like pull them up like you would with some other girls. So you got to, why you got to pose for your physique and not according to how somebody else poses. So no, I agree with that. But I think overall, like her look, as far as the polish, hair, makeup, all that kind of stuff is, I wouldn't change anything.
Beautiful.
Like I said, the minute she walked on stage, I was like, oh, who's that? Like, you can even hear me on my Spotify. I was like, who is that?
Who is she?
So let's see.
Oh, that's an interesting comment, Brandy. Do you know that if she's coached by Atlas?
To be honest with you, I didn't know that. If she is, maybe that's the case. Maybe that's why that's the posing thing. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't know that she was on the same team as Issa. So that would make sense if they got the same posing coach. It makes sense. Yeah. So we've got Lizzie up next, who was in third. Again, let's see. This is a full front pose, I think, right here. Looks like she's moving a little bit. Okay, well, if they've got the same posing coach, then it's very possible that that's the reason why she was posing that way. Yeah, it's very possible that's why she was posing that way.
That's a good point.
Yep. So makes sense. So I think so Lizzie does put her arm down a little bit more, I think, in her front pose. Because that's the one thing I would change right here, but I don't think that we have a full on. Oh wait, no, we do. Yeah. Hold on. We got one where her arm's in the right place. Okay, let me pull that up. She was transitioning.
Not doing a figure arm on that one.
Yes, no figure arm.
No figure arms.
There we go. Yeah, she was just in transition. So, okay. So here's her front pose. So what do you think about Lizzie?
Lizzie, I love her look. She's like knocking on the door. She keeps just getting better and better. I love the new hair. I don't know if you guys have known Lizzie through all of her transitions of hair color. She's been blonde, and then she was red for a while, and then she kind of switched from red per judges' feedback to more of like a blonde, and then finally went brown. And I told her when I was at the Tahoe show, I was like, Lizzie, I love your hair. Like, fine. And she said, I love it too. So I really love this look on her. I think for Lizzie, it's just about right now finding her look and what the judges like, and she does just keep improving. I love this front pose. Lizzie is always has beautiful shoulders, always very conditioned, good conditioning and whatnot. I think in the front pose, maybe we could, do something with the back leg. My immediate eye goes to the back leg, maybe opening it up a little bit more, turning the knee in more towards the judges, just posing better to the judges. I'm sure we're going to switch to the back pose in a second. That's always what I see in Lizzie, is just getting that last little bit of sharpness in those tie-ins. And I feel like if they can nail that down, she's going to be money. Yeah. I think you're right. I think with the front pose, I think it's just a matter of tweaking the leg a little bit, maybe even the arm in the back here, just relaxing that a little bit down. She was like, when she walked on stage,
she was one of those ones again that was just like Rhoda we were talking about. She was just stunning. Like it was just like, oh shit. Sorry, cussing. Anyway, but
that's okay.
I do that sometimes. I try not to, but I do it sometimes.
We'll let it go.
But yeah, it was one of those things. I was like, oh, this could be her show. You know, as soon as she walked out, it was one of those kinds of feelings. I don't know if maybe they just thought she was just a touch too muscular in comparison to the other two in the top. Maybe, I don't know. I still would like to see her back pose a little different. I think that's where the issue is, and we'll get to that in a second when we turn around to the back. But I agree with you. I think if the front pose, maybe pull the leg out a little bit, drop that shoulder down a little bit, might help. It would just be a matter of seeing it to see if it would make it a little bit better balanced. But I really don't have a whole lot other than that, because even her waistline, I've said this in the past, sometimes I see her waistline being a little bit distended. I didn't even see that here. So I really felt like this was a really good package for her.
Yeah. And to me, she just keeps improving. And, you know, I just got to say about Lizzie, she's resilient. I mean, she has gotten so much feedback of things to change and do this and do that. And she just keeps taking it with grace and keeps showing up and keeps improving. So incredible.
So let's take a look at back pose.
Stephanie, I didn't know about the figure arm until Jordan told me last week. Yes, so we fixed it.
Yeah.
No figure arms.
Okay, so what would you do differently in the back pose?
I don't know. I would keep playing with it. Honestly, I don't love the stance. I don't love the toes out, but maybe that's what they have to do in order to get those tie-ins to show, because to me, it's just that little bit on those glute hamstring tie-ins and just a little bit of matness in the hamstrings, almost maybe just a little bit more in the hamstrings. Yeah, you know, so it's hard because I know she's coached by Jamie, and I know that for me, because she's got those little short tie-ins like I do, and we have to get extremely lean in order for those to show. And toe placement and knee bend versus straight is different every show, you know, depending on how full you are, how conditioned you are, and whatnot. And to that as well, I know for me personally, when we're changing it that much, sometimes it gets confusing on what the actual back pose is supposed to be that day and to nail it 100%. So it's just about, again, fine tuning and finding for what works for her. But I don't love this position.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And actually, I spoke to Jamie after the show about this because I said the same thing. I don't like the toes out. And Jamie said that that's the only way they can get her glutes to pop up. So
exactly.
You know, I know that if something is happening in a pose, there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? And I get that. I understand that. It's just, if that's the only way that the glutes can pop, then there's got to be something else that can be done maybe through the training to get the glutes to pop. Maybe it's just about adding more glutes. So then that way you don't have to pull the toes out like that. I don't know. But that's, for me, that's the one thing I look at. I'm fine with the upper body. Maybe put a little bit more fullness into the hair. Hair's a little bit stringy for me. So add a little bit more volume into those extensions. I think length's fine. I think you just need a little bit more hair. And then just the toe position. So figuring out how to get around that toe position so that you don't have to go out quite so far. Because I think what happens with that is that's where we see the quads, that's where we see the legs versus looking at just the glutes. Because to me, that I think for me, that's the only thing that's keeping her out of the top. I really do. I think that's the only thing. I wouldn't change a whole lot else other than just the toes. That's the one thing that sticks out to me. So
yeah, she's improved everything else. Like literally, she's coming in 100% on everything else. So it's just that little bit. I know it's only a matter of time for her. So it's just about, she's just not done on that door.
Just keep coming back. Just keep coming back. The only way that you lose is if you quit, right? So
exactly.
Unfortunately, sometimes it takes some of us a lot longer than others, but we'll get there if we don't quit.
That's it. It's all part of the sport.
Yep. Well, one that's kind of risen really fast is Allie right here. So she came in second. Again, this is her second place of the year. What did you see with her as far as what did you like and what do you think kept her out of the top spot?
The only thing with Allie, and she's very verbal about this too, is her waistline. And right now I know she is dealing with some gut issues and some hormone issues. She was actually I think considering like doing the show or not doing the show. I'm glad she did. I'm glad she ended the season on a high note. So to me, the only thing with Allie is that waistline. I mean, her stage presence, her polish. I mean, she comes out and she is just wow.
Yep.
So I know with a mini little off season, getting healthy again, getting hormones back online, getting her gut, back online. I know she's going to come back next season and get no qualification. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yep.
Yeah, I really wouldn't change much about her except for that. And unfortunately, it's just nothing that she can control right now. She's just dealing with those gut issues. So
yeah, and I think that, to that point, the one thing that I saw in person is she just didn't have the pop that that Ariana had. And I think that
yeah.
goes down to the food, the food absorption and all those kinds of things, and just getting it to actually fill the muscle out like you want it to. I think that her actual shape and everything is right on, but like you said, she's got this extension in her lower abs. That's the first thing you look at, and she just didn't have that pop that we saw from Ariana, who did win. Because other than that, they were very, very comparable as far as their shape, their look, their presence, their polish, like all of that was very, very comparable. It was just the lack of pop.
Yeah.
So.
And Allie's been prepping for a really long time. Don't forget, she just turned pro. So
that's right.
Ari's a little bit more fresh. Her first show out of the season was Republic.
Tampa. Republic. Oh, okay.
Republic was her first show out of the season. And then she took a break between then and Tampa, probably had a little diet break, so there's been some ways to rejuvenate Ari into her win where Allie really hasn't had that opportunity yet. So she's tired. Her body's tired. She just needs a little rest, and she doesn't need much. She doesn't need a huge off season. I know her feedback was not to really grow anymore. They like her the way she is. Could she afford a little bit more size here? And of course she could, for another prep, but they love her the way she looks. She's just got to kind of dial in all these little things and come in 100%. And then it's hers.
Yep. Because even here, when you look at this back pose, there's not a whole lot to change other than the pop. That's all we're missing. That's all we're missing is that fullness, that pop that we're looking for. Because she's got a little bit of an imbalance here, and that's from posing. I mean, I have the same thing. I know what it is. It's from yanking that arm around because I do the same thing. So,
gosh, you're so relatable, Sean.
I know. So that's a mobility thing. I get it. Just got to work on it, making sure you get that arm down.
But isn't it impressive in the back pose, even with the distension that she has? Look how tiny her waist looks, and that's a real pro, right? Going through all those gut issues and being able to still pose the best you can. And her waist here looks amazing.
Yep. And here's a good example too we were just talking about how Lizzie could have a little bit more hair. She's got just enough. See how much fuller it is here? This is perfect. Like this is just enough. It doesn't cover up
all
anything.
hers too.
Yeah. And it doesn't cover up anything. It doesn't cover up the width in her back. It doesn't cover up her lower back. It doesn't hit the top of her glutes. That's right where you want that hair to sit, right?
Yes.
And it's really polished and shiny and all the things that you want it to be, right? So, and yes, as far as the comment that just came in, she's got an amazing presence on stage, amazing posing, all of that. It's just that little tiny detail of the pop, and then she'll be right there, And again, going back to, like you said, I mean, she started the season at the DC Pro-Am, winning the overall there. Then she won the overall at Junior Nationals. Then she comes in second call out her first show, second place her second, top 5 in Tahoe, and then second again. I mean, this is a phenomenal first year, year as a pro. So nothing to be upset about at all. And then take the time to get healthy and come back and just win a show. Sounds so easy. Just win a show. No big deal.
She's right there.
She's right there.
She's right there.
But, speaking of that, like the girl that did win it, Ariana, the first time, or Ari, whatever her name, I always mix up their names. I was right.
You're right for both.
Ariana, I was right. Right.
I think you're right.
I got it right. The first time I ever seen her was Tampa. I've never seen her before. So, and she just stood out like not like a sore thumb, because that sounds bad, but she stood out really, really well in Tampa and taking second there. So again, stood out in this lineup too. So, from what you see of the front pose, what do you see from her?
So to comment on that, so the first time that I saw Ari was actually when she won the overall in 2019 Miami Nationals. That was my very first Nationals, and I remember her winning. And then she took time off. Her first show back after that win was this year, Republic of Texas. And I went right up to her and I introduced myself, and I was competing with her, and she's so sweet. So she took all of 2020 off, all of 2021, all of 22, just coming back this year. So she's made significant improvements. She
Yeah.
won that overall a few years ago. But yes, I've been watching her coach is Paul Rivera from Team Pro Physiques. I've been watching his updates with her since Tampa. I had a good feeling she was going to be top 2 at this show. She has made significant improvements since Tampa. They definitely tightened her up, fullness, and then she just came out on stage and she was captivating. I mean, she was just stunning. So I love this package. I'm very, very, very happy with this win.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't change anything about the front pose. I mean, I think it's right spot on. Hair and makeup look is right spot on. I will say I thought her makeup was better in Tampa. I will say that. But this isn't bad, but I just think that her makeup was better in Tampa. That's all.
Okay.
Just a little bit cleaner in Tampa. But the overall look here is better. It's more polished. She's a little bit tighter. She was just a little too soft from the front and from the back in Tampa. Here she's not. So, she brought the package in just a touch tighter, and that's what she needed to do here. And it was really, I mean, again, she has that tightness, but she has that pop to it,
Absolutely.
To me, it was like, I know that the score sheet said 1 point. But to me, I didn't see how she wasn't going to win, just personally. It just looked like a complete package to me. And then when we pull her to the back, where she fell off in Tampa was from the back because she was too soft. But she fixed that here. So
it's funny too, because I'm looking at these photos as you're pulling them up, and I think she actually looked a little bit sharper on the live stream. Do you think she looked sharper in person compared to these photos, which is usually opposite?
Yeah, okay. The photos definitely make them look softer than they actually were. Yes, absolutely. She was sharper in person. And you can see here, this is not a typical back pose for a girl, right? Usually you have a little bit wider stance. You can see her feet are a little bit underneath her shoulders, a little closer than underneath her shoulders. But it works for her actual structure. So again, going back to, you can't put your pose next to somebody else and say, this is going to be my pose. You know what I mean? So what do you think about her back pose?
I think immediately, funny about what we've been talking about all night is she has a little bit more of those higher hands. And it works for her here in her back pose, where other people that we've talked about earlier, that it has not really worked. So again, just like you're saying, one pose works for one person versus another, and this works for her here. I will say that when I was watching the top 2 comparison, I think from the back is where Allie and her the judges were really kind of taking a look, and I could have made an argument for either. And I would almost say that it maybe was the stance. Allie was a little bit wider, so it made her look a little bit more X-frame and balanced from top to bottom versus Ari. But I agree with you. I think the overall package, it was Ari this day.
Yep, I agree. And again, going back to, this is not a typical stance. You wouldn't see somebody usually with their feet closer than their shoulders.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that when we get to Texas and everything too. But it worked for her here. So it could be that if she put her feet a little bit wider, maybe she lost some of the fullness in her glutes. You know what I mean? She's got longer legs. When you look at this, when you look at her frame, her legs are longer than her upper half. So a lot of times you have to be aware of that, because if you pull the legs apart, then you start shrinking everything down. So, it could very well be that the reason why she's posing like this is because that's how her glutes pop the best.
Correct.
But, like I said, the pop was perfect here versus when she was in Tampa, she was a lot softer. She didn't have the tie-in or anything like that. She had great shape, but she just didn't have the conditioning. She brought I was waiting for her in Nashville to turn around. And I was like, oh, there we go. It's there now. Yep, so now that she's got the conditioning, she's there. You know what I mean? She was that close in Tampa, and she was right there here. So the question is, when you pose with your legs close to the back pose, does it make your legs look bigger? Depends on the person. It depends on the person. Again, posing is very individual. So sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It just depends on what your structure is. So just have to see per person. That's why it's important. Like, sometimes when you're looking at shows, we're like, well, she shouldn't be posing like that. Well, you haven't seen her in any other poses, so you don't know that she shouldn't be posing like that. You know what I mean? Maybe this is the best pose for her. Like we were talking about Lizzie, maybe that is the best pose for her, just because that's the only way she can get her glutes to pop. You know what I mean? So everybody's going to be a little bit different, and you have to make the best choice for that day, So, but I thought this was a well-deserved win. I thought it was a really great look. I'll be curious to see what she does now, if she just takes off until Olympia, or if she decides to continue to compete. She's fresh.
She's going to Clash. this weekend.
Is she? Okay. I haven't even looked at the lists yet. So
she's on the list for Clash this weekend.
Okay. And I don't think that's a bad idea. At this point,
she has nothing to lose.
Correct. She's qualified. She's only done, the 3 shows since she's been in the pro league, right? So, you might as well get in front of these judges and get some more feedback. Clash is Sandy, right? So, she hasn't been in front of Sandy yet. So get in front of Sandy, get the feedback. People always ask why, if they're already qualified, why keep competing? This is why, because now you're qualified. Now you want to do good when you get to the Olympia. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
So the best thing you can do, if you're feeling good and you're not dwindling and things like that, get in front of the different judges so you can get more feedback.
Yeah. And again, Issa's going to be there this weekend, and Ari is now qualified. She has nothing to lose. She can only gain. If she comes second or third to Issa on her resume, that's huge. I would be lying if I said I didn't think about hopping into the show this weekend for the same purpose. However, I'm protecting my health. And the thing last year for me was how many shows I did and I wasn't fresh at the Olympia. So as much as I want to do that, I'm trying to reserve myself. So this is a good move for her this weekend. She's coming off a win. She's going to see Sandy, who likes this kind of look. She also has Mo on the panel, who was just there last weekend at Nashville. And if she comes second or third to Issa, that's only going to help the resume for her for the Olympia. So,
well, it's going to help her to see what she needs to do in order to be able to beat her as well going forward. You know what I mean? You can't beat somebody if you've never stood next to them and don't know what you look like next to them. So you got to put yourself in the situation. Absolutely. If you want to swim with the big dogs, you got to put yourself in the same pond, right? Maybe swim with big fishes. Fish probably better than dogs, but whatever. Y'all know what I mean. Swim with the big dogs. Dogs swim too.
Okay, so topic for another podcast is coming up with different isms.
There you go. Sean-isms. Okay, I love it. Okay, so that takes us through Nashville. So let's go to to Texas next, and we'll do wellness first. And we'll go through wellness relatively quickly here. So starting with 5th place, which was Devin. So that's comparisons. So I was not there in person. This is not, I've got Bikini up. Hold on. Where's wellness? Let me get to wellness. There we go. Here's wellness. Okay. So let's start with wellness here with Devin. Now the first thing I'm going to say is I can't comment a whole lot on colors and things like that, because these pictures are a little bit muted. Because I know for a fact that her suit pops off her a whole lot better because I made the suit. So I know that this is not true to
popping.
I know this is not true to real life here because I made that suit. Plus I did hear, and I'm just going to, boost myself here. I did hear that on the live stream, they gave her a huge compliment on her suit and coloring and how it was very unique and it suited her very well and all those kinds of things. So, so my 2 cents as far as Devin is concerned, personally, out of the top 5, I felt like she had the best polish, the best overall look. I felt like she had the best tan, the best, hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff. Loved her posing, all of that. I know that her feedback was that she needed a tighter waistline and more legs, which I can understand that. I see, when we're looking at this quarter turn, I see the little skin folds right here. So I can see where they would say she needs a little bit of a tighter waistline. I think that the legs comment comes in from the back post specifically. I can kind of see it here too. Some more fullness in the quad, a little bit more fullness in the hamstring. I get that. I see that. I think she actually has the best glutes on the stage. But I think her legs need to match. So I do agree with that feedback. What did you see in person?
Yeah, I mean, Devin walked out and we were like, wow, she looks great. I mean, polished top to bottom, hair, suit, everything was beautiful. I would just like to see more of Devin. And I know that was her feedback, just a little bit more muscle, but literally conditioning was great. And I did see her at Tampa, and this was a much improved package for Devin. I was a little disappointed with the 5th. I think, they could have been a little bit higher. We're going to get into that in a little bit. You're going to see the other people. I think at this show is more about size, big size. But this is a beautiful package for Devin and much improved from Tampa. I was really happy with this.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was like night and day from Tampa personally.
Yes.
So here's the back pose here.
Beautiful.
So like I said, I think she had, again, best glutes on the stage personally. I think she has the best glutes on the stage, but I see where the feedback comes into play, where her glutes are a little overpowering in comparison to her legs, where she needs a little bit more legs. and like you were saying, in general, like when I was looking at the comparison shots and stuff, I felt like it was a size game. And
Yes.
based on the top 5, I would say she was a little outsized.
Yes.
Would you agree with that? As far as conditioning and size, it's like, would you agree with that?
1000%. I mean, Devin's conditioning I can see what you see in the lower back, especially, you know,
Yep.
with a little bit of water there and or fat. But I mean, she had the best conditioning, fullness, etc., compared to the other top 4, which we're going to get into. But again, to her, it was just that she was the smallest compared to the rest of the top 5.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on to. Is it Diana? Yeah, Diana. Okay, so Diana here came in 4th. I'll go ahead and pull up a front pose for her. Personally, I felt like her tan was too light.
Yes.
Kind of hard to tell from the individual photos, but I did look through the comparisons, and I felt like her tan was too light. I
have that in my notes.
Okay, I also felt like her makeup was off, and I felt like her conditioning was off as well. Specifically in the lower half. Her upper half is okay. I think she could have been tighter in the waist, but I think her lower half was off as far as conditioning is concerned. I thought she was pretty soft. You'll see it specifically from the back. But your 2 cents as far as her look is concerned.
Yeah, this is really the one that I had the most trouble with in the top 5. I think that there is definitely balance from top to bottom, which, you know, in wellness, we want that perfect imbalance from top to bottom, and conditioning. I did have the comment about tan as well. It was definitely light. But she was larger in that lower half. I don't know if you could pull up that back shot, and then we'll be able to kind of see, and then you'll see kind of that progression from 3rd. This is 4th right now, from 3rd to 4th to 1st, or sorry, 3rd to 2nd to 1st.
Yeah.
The similarities, but obviously much larger.
Yeah.
Glutes, you know, much larger lower half, not as conditioned as Devin.
Right.
And this is where I was struggling a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you know, even just looking at the polish too, I mean, the hair looks a little bit damaged and dry, you know, things like that. Like those are the things I look at as well. And it just, to me, there's no separation between the glutes and the hamstrings like there was when we saw Devin. Like I get where the feedback came in. I understand it. And as Devin is saying here, she's like, damn, waste story of my life Devin's on right now.
Hi, Devin.
But like the lack of polish here for me is questionable. You know what I mean? Like I said, the dryness of the hair, you know, the lack of tan, the lack of makeup, all that kind of stuff. And just from the back, it just looks like one mass. Right.
Yeah.
So again, the size game. If I was her, I mean, I'd just be tighter, you know, in general, and fix all those little things. Right. Like I see like I see the wellness balance from the back. Like you mentioned balance, like she looked balanced from the front. From the back, you can see her upper body is definitely smaller than her lower, but it's just not conditioned enough. So I was, you know, again, same thing. I don't know if I would have put her in 4th place. But if they're going on size for this particular show, then I understand why.
Exactly.
I understand why. Let's go to next one, which is Jenna. Okay.
Jenna. This was one of my favorite looks.
I was going to say, I've never seen her, but as soon as I picked up her photos, I was like, damn. I was like, okay.
Yeah. And she came out that way too. Like it was awesome.
Yeah. See, in this scenario, what I see here is I see really good conditioning. This is an incredible pose. I mean, her waistline is teeny tiny here, you know,
tiny.
Great polish with the hair and makeup and the suit and everything too. So I like this look a lot. This lower back is just like non-existent right here. Like it doesn't exist. So
exactly.
The only critique that I really have is that, you know, when she was transitioning to the back pose and things like that, I saw some striations and stuff, which you don't want to see. So maybe
you could kind of see it in her shoulder a little bit here, the striations in the front.
So maybe she was just a little overboard on the conditioning. But overall, I felt like this was a really good package for her. What did you see in person?
Yeah, she was my favorite that came out of the day. I thought she was going to be in that top 1st or 2nd spot. I just love this look from top to bottom. I have no notes about it other than I was like, I love her.
Yeah, yeah.
But yes, I do agree that she needed to be a little bit more full.
Yeah, I think that was probably the only thing that was keeping her out of the top spots. Again, she has more size. Maybe she could have fixed this back pose a little bit, like stood up a little bit. That would have helped with the fullness here. She's kind of squatting into it, and she's bending over a little. So, fix one of the two at least. You know what I mean? Stand up or something like that. I do think the suit bottom is a little bit small here as well, in between the butt cheeks.
That's a good point.
And that could be because of the posing. If she stood up a little taller, that might not be an issue. But because of the way she's posing, I think it's a little too small. So that could also be a thing right here. But overall, I felt like her conditioning might have been a little touch too much because of the striations. So maybe she just needed to fill out a little bit and then some posing tweaks.
Definitely.
But overall polish, like I said, the tan, the hair, the makeup, all of that looked great. And then we've got Mia in second, which did she start her? Oh no, I've got it on the. I was gonna say, she started her routine with her back pose. I'm on the third page of photos. So no, she did. Well, maybe she did. Hold on. Did she start a routine with back poses?
I think she spun into it.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's what we're seeing.
Okay, hold on. I haven't seen anything from the front at all. I'm like, hang on. Maybe that's why I was on the third page. Yeah, because she's not even in a front pose yet. So
JM, you screwed up the order.
I know, right? I'm like,
there we go. This looks more.
I'm like, we're finally getting the front pose.
There we go.
Here, we'll do one of these right here.
Okay.
So, not loving this pose. I feel like she's got weight on her back foot. Her top, she's kind of coming out of the bottom of it. I don't know about the suit color. Again, I'm not going to comment on that because of the lighting in the photo itself. To me, this looks like a balanced physique. She's locking her knee out where she should be kind of bending it a little bit. And again, it looks a little too balanced to me for bikini or for wellness. It looks like bikini because she's got that shoulder cap. It's almost like she's a bigger version of bikini here. Also not a huge fan of the big hair. I would calm that down. It's very Texas. It works for Texas, but I would calm it down. I think it actually takes away from her package because I think she's a really pretty girl. And I think that hair just is kind of distracting, to be honest. So your thoughts here?
Yeah, so notes that I had for Miss Mia was hair. And I don't know her personally, but just from her personality on stage, the big hair wasn't her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like she needed like a little bit of movement, and she's young and, just flirty. And it was really big and just kind of stiff. And I know a lot of the girls are having issues with hair in the Texas heat. It was brutally hot there. So I know girls were, they said their hair was falling, and we'll get to bikini and you'll see Ashlyn's hair in a second where she was having some hair issues. So we could see that, she definitely had some frizziness there and whatnot. Again, that was the Texas heat. A lot of the girls were dealing with it, which is why I go back to Devin too, because as a pro, you just have to deal with those things. Obviously Devin kept, spraying her hair or making sure that her hair stayed in her hair looked beautiful. Those are things you just have to do, knowing what the weather is going to be in the place that you're at. Right. But yeah, with Mia, the comments that I made were that I think she needed to be more conditioned. I think she looks very balanced from top to bottom. That leg is way too straight. This looks like a bikini front pose. And I know that her feedback from Ettila backstage, I heard it, was that she needed to bend that leg. So I know that's already been addressed. I think there's definitely some improvements and things to work on, but wow, I mean, she came out.
Well, she came out of nowhere.
She was shocked.
Yeah, we were all shocked, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have her in my preview. Yeah, I didn't have her in my preview because she's never placed well. You know what I mean? So I was surprised. I was very surprised to see her up in that top two, and I think everybody was. Back pose. What do you think about the back pose?
I know her feedback was stance was too wide. I agree. And then she was bending over. I know some of the girls do that to create that imbalance. It was a little bit too much. So posing adjustments, obviously. But if you notice the quads, right? So, here we go. Here's the size game. So Mia has those wheels, right? So there's no denying that. And here we see imbalance from top to bottom. So in this shot, I think that's kind of it's funny because she's posing odd right here, but this is where they were so wowed by her, in my opinion. So yeah, just some things to work on, and yeah, we were, it was a shocker.
Yeah. I think that, and again, going back to the size game, that's why she's in the position that she's in here. Her arms are too wide for me. Her hair is too big for me, like those kinds of things. And her stance, like you said, looks too bikini to me. Like it just looks too bikini and bent over. So changing little things with her posing will make a big, big difference in this whole overall look. She needs to pose more wellness versus bikini. And then like you said, conditioning, she needs to come in tighter. But she, again, going back to, they were rewarding for size, I believe, at this show. And so that makes sense as to why she is where she is. She's got the quads, right? So I'm sure she was stoked about that finish.
She came on stage and she was like,
literally nobody thought that was going to happen. Now this one we kind of all knew, right? We kind of felt like she was the front runner coming in. She's placed well every other show, that kind of thing. So from what I saw, it does look like an improvement over Tampa. She does look like she came in tighter. To me, she still needs to be tighter. To me, she's still, she's washed out in the midsection. Her legs are a little bit too soft as well, overall. But it's a size game. So, she was the biggest one on stage, right? So that's where she probably pulled out the win. Devin said, I think it's Mia's posing who's kept her from winning. The difference was 1 point. Oh, it was 1 point between the two of them. So now the other thing that I see here too is that when I was looking at comparisons, Marissa was kind of like down the middle when it came to conditioning. Like we were talking about the girl that was in third. What was her name? I can't remember her name. The blonde.
Let me pull on my note. Jenna.
So Jenna was too conditioned. Mia was not conditioned enough, and Marissa was right down the middle. So I think that when it came down to the conditioning, I think that's why she was in that leapfrog position, because she was down the middle between the two of them. So it makes sense. I'm not a huge fan of the front pose either. I feel like she's kicking her pelvis forward. I would like to see her her pelvis get kicked back. I just feel like it's not the right position for the hips. And then if we go to the back pose, honestly, her back pose, she executed it really well. She just needs to be better conditioned, but this is a really well executed back pose as far as I'm concerned when it comes to wellness, and she just needs to be better conditioned. And so your 2 cents.
But again, the legs.
Right. It's size.
Size.
100% size. Yep.
Size.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I understand why. Makes sense. I don't think anybody really is arguing with the fact that she won this, but like Devin was saying, it's only 1 point between 1 and 2. So that shows you how close it actually was.
I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so, again, like that's huge for Mia. Like the second place, I mean, huge. So congrats to her. I mean, wow. Yep.
So, it just shows you too that you can come in as somebody who's never placed or done anything and almost dethrone somebody who was was she 6th at the Olympia? I think Marissa was 6th at the Olympia. She was first call out, but it might have been 7th. But anyway, I'm like, you can come in and almost dethrone her, right?
You never know.
You just never know.
Yeah.
So that will wrap up wellness. Let's go back to bikini, which we saved this for last because this was really kind of the talk of the town for this particular show. It was the showdown between Ashlyn and Issa. But before we get into them, let's go to our 5th place, which was Woo. If I can find her.
Woo.
There she is. So Woo just took 2nd in Tahoe, as you know, next to you. So in comparison to Tahoe, what do you think that she did right? What do you think she did wrong here at this particular show?
I like her red suit better. So she went to a green suit this show. I was a little shocked by that. When you're that close at the weekend before, I feel like you just need to kind of bring the same and make your little adjustments and whatnot. So I was kind of shocked that she went with a completely different look. Tan was a little bit off. It was a little too light. And then we did talk, you and I, about some of the posing adjustments that we thought she needed to make, and I don't really see too much change. So to be honest, I think it was pretty much the same type of look with a different suit, and I prefer the Tahoe look more.
Yep. I agree with you, actually, 100%, because I was going to ask you about the suit color, because again, the lighting, you can't really tell with the pictures. But I felt like the red popped off of her better. When I looked through her photos and I was looking at her front post, she still had that hand on her waistline where it was in Tahoe, the same place. Her feet were too close together. When you look at her back pose, she's bent over a bit in her back pose, just like she was in Tahoe. So that really kind of blurs her lines a little. If she stood up a little taller, I think she'd fill out a little bit more. I felt like her conditioning was about the same. Do you feel like her conditioning was about the same?
Yeah,
So
I think everything was really the same, right?
Yeah.
But different as far as like the suit and the look and the polish.
Right. And to me, it's almost like she didn't wow me as much because of the suit. Like the suit was just kind of meh in this particular show, right? So like whereas the red, it was just like, who's that girl? You know what I mean? Like as soon as she walked out on stage. So, you know, she doesn't listen to this little live feed apparently. Maybe she should. Maybe she should.
Yeah, we'll send it. Well, I think too, this is important to talk about, like having someone like you or a coach that understands polish, right? Like you're in Texas and you have this beautiful black background that you want to pop out against. The red suit should have been the move, right? Like, so, and then obviously all the posing tweaks that we talked about on the last one, a coach should have maybe addressed that. So yeah, there's, again, now she still has room to improve. There's still things that she could be working on. But yeah, I think this package was about the same, and I wish it was the red suit.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see if she continues to compete and what she does next. Maybe she'll put the red suit back on.
Maybe I'll message her.
I know, right? So we got Eureka next. So from what I saw, I actually felt like this was a really good look for Eureka. As far as polish is concerned, this is probably like the prettiest look I've seen on her. I felt like her front pose was good. She could probably drop the arm a little bit, but other than that, I wouldn't change a whole lot here. And then I'm going to flip her right to the back, and we'll take a look at the back pose too. Oops, the wrong one.
Yeah, I was having eyes on Eureka all weekend because Jamie was in Nashville with you, and we were in Texas. And this is Eureka's first show of the season. She placed 12th at the Olympia last year. She's getting ready to go to Tokyo, Japan this weekend, and that's where she won last year. This was a beautiful package for Eureka first show out. She needed to be maybe a hair more conditioned, but I will say that Jamie coaches her. Jamie did her magic, and tie-ins were definitely popping on stage. I actually got her in with my bodywork guy Matt from Tampa. He was in Texas working on Hunter Labrada all weekend. She was able to see him the day before show, and he was able to kind of move around some inflammation. She lives in Hawaii, so she travels a far away. So the package ended up beautiful. So I think a little bit 5-10% this week of a little bit more depletion and better filling out. She's going to be money.
Yeah. And I would agree. Like, I think she's just needs a touch tighter back here, but her waistline is super tight and she's got that wide berth through the shoulders. Looks great. Maybe pull the suit cut down a little bit. You see how it's a little shallow right here? And we're seeing some hip bone. So either bigger cut or pull it down like a 1/4 of an inch so you don't see all that up there. And it would make her glutes look a little fuller too. So I would just adjust the placement of that or get a bigger suit bottom. But again, overall, the polish I thought was really, like I said, her makeup and hair and stuff was probably the best I've seen on her. And I really liked her posing too. And like I said, I think I would like to see her a little bit tighter. I agree, specifically here. We see it here. And that's it. Like not a whole lot of world shaking differences. She's this close, just like we were talking about with Lizzie, she's this close. Right. It's just a matter of getting in the right show, just a matter of getting in the right show and making sure you nail all those little things like that. And then she'll be right there and win. Probably pretty
and
easily.
Her stage presence is just amazing. Her posing, her captivation. I just love Eureka. I'm a huge Eureka fan.
No, I think she's got a great shape, and I think she's one that people sleep on a little bit. Speaking of sleeping on, I think people sleep on Tamika as well.
100%. I was so happy for her. Finally. Oh, God. I just love Tamika's look. And I agree. I feel like they sleep on her. And finally, she's getting this top 3 placing. Because look at this weight. Look at these ratios. I mean, she is gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Yeah, I know her. And I know her coach pretty well and everything, too. We were in Tampa. And I said in Tampa, she just needed to be a touch tighter. And she was tighter here in this particular show. And I think that did it for her 100%. Like she's just got ridiculous proportions. Like there's nothing I would change here other than maybe try to get a suit top that pulls her chest in a little bit more. But other than that, I mean, that sometimes you can't do that with the way the implants sit. You know what I mean? So maybe that's the
Sure.
best you can do. But that's really the only thing that I see here as an issue.
I want to say too, she usually wears blue. If I remember correctly,
I think she had purple the last few shows. I believe
Okay.
I believe she was in purple in Tampa. I could be wrong, but I think she was in purple because I definitely remember purple from Dallas for sure. I remember purple from Dallas.
I love the purple, so
yeah.
I love it.
No, I agree. I think that it's a great look for her. From the back, again, I think this was right on for her. They got a back pose. Let's see.
She's got those nice long tie-ins.
Yeah. And she didn't have this conditioning in Tampa. She did have it here. And so, one thing that was made a comment was they thought that she was too conditioned. I don't agree. I think this was right where she needed to be. I think this is where for her body and her physique, she needed to be right here for this conditioning. I don't think I would have changed much. What do you think?
I don't either. I think this is where she needs to be in order to get this look.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
I'm fine with this. I don't think it's too hard at all.
Yep. No, I agree. I think, and again, just she has a little bit of thicker skin. So when you have that, you do have to get a little bit tighter in order to be able to show everything and pop everything. So I think this was right where she needed to be. And again, going back to somebody else, it might be too tight, but for her, that's where she needs to be. So I think this was a great package. I don't think I would have changed anything. I think that I would just keep, again, another one, just like we talked about Eureka, just keep coming back. Just keep coming back, and eventually she's going to hit one where she's going to win it. If she brings a package like this every time, she's going to win one eventually.
Yes,
eventually.
The only note I had for Tamika was a little bit less hair on the back, so maybe a different cut. Into the V on the back. That way we can expose the rear delts a little bit more. That could also be the frizziness, though, of the hair and Texas and things like that. So maybe it kind of swelled a little bit. But that was my only note about her.
I was going to mention that when we were looking at her front pose, that her hair looked a little bit full.
Yeah,
I agree.
And again, it was everybody's hair was going crazy.
Yep.
So that just might be
that's a Texas thing.
A Texas thing.
It's a Texas thing. Yep, I agree. I agree with that 100%. So, all right. So there's that, and we are up to our final two, which are Issa and Ashlyn. Now, this was the big showdown, all of that kind of stuff. So go ahead and you tell the little story that you were going to tell about the whole Issa thing. So.
Yeah. So, I was shocked when Issa walked out on stage for prejudging because, so Drew and I, my husband, we always have a light backstage for our athletes, and that's how we check them and check their tans. And Issa and James, her coach, James Atlas, they were coming up and he was like, "Hey, can I use your light?" So I watched James check Issa in front of me. I was standing right next to James using my light. I would say probably about 4 times backstage, literally minutes before she went on stage. And he did post a video on his page of she's against a black curtain and there's a light on her, and that's where it was. Mm-hmm. And Issa looked perfect. There was no issues with her tan. Her hair looked fine. She looked beautiful. Now I can't assess fullness and leanness and things like that behind stage, but as far as what the biggest things were that think people are talking about was the polish when she walked out. So then I walk out and I go to watch prejudging, and she walked out on stage. She was green, and I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I was like, I just saw her backstage. She looked perfect. What's going on? The hair had fallen, and the polish was just a little bit off. In addition to that, we'll get into that, I guess, but Ashlyn came out first, obviously before her, and Ashlyn just came out and she just had this presence about her, and she was max full and tight and definitely improved from Tampa, and Ashlyn was just very captivating. And when Issa came out, it just looked a little bit timid still. And I know that's been part of Issa's feedback in the past. And again, first show of the season. So I get it. I'm a competitor, Sean, I'm sure you get that too. First show of the season, you're just kind of getting your feet wet and whatnot, the pressure and things like that. But it just was kind of like, okay. And then immediately I knew this is going to be an interesting one. So, and I feel for James because I was right there next to him, and there was nothing I saw before prejudging there. That green tan was not exposed backstage until she was underneath the lights.
That's so strange. I don't know maybe just against the suit or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, it was
Regardless of
crazy.
the tan and stuff like that too, though, she's just too lean. She's just too lean. You can see it. She's too
Yes.
hard. All of that. I mean, I know that they've come out and talked about her feedback and everything like that, and it's just she was ripping through food all week, that kind of thing. So,
Yes.
she's got a killer front pose, but you can just see it. She's got those etched in abs and everything like that. It's just too much.
I did talk to James a little bit too, which I think I
cuts
told
back
you
here.
at check-ins.
Yep.
And they were having trouble filling her out.
Yeah.
He was stuffing her. He was trying to give her fats via oil, and I think that kind of made her stomach upset. So they were just having some issues. And
Yep.
yeah, again, this is why you do shows before the Olympia, especially with a new coach. So that way you can learn these things and what works and what doesn't. And literally, what James said is what her old coach used to do. He is completely doing the opposite. So they're trying to figure out what works for her and her body and how to peak her. And unfortunately, she still came in too lean, but I know that they're going to continue to work on it and figure it out.
Yeah. And that's all you can do. I mean, at the end of the day, like if it's not working, you got to change something. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So, you've got to try some new things. And, obviously she won the Olympia. They want to get her back up into that range and not in the 8th place position again. You know what I mean? So in order to do that, you've got to take some risks and you've got to try some things. So I'm sure they're going to try some things this weekend at Clash. But one thing that they tried here in Texas that I was not a fan of at all was her back pose. So let me get a back pose up. And again, we talked about this. Maybe it's a posing coach thing because what's her name, Rhoda in Nashville, did the same kind of thing for her back pose. Here's one. Here's a good back pose. But I don't understand this back pose at all. Like I know when she came out for finals, she fixed it completely because I was watching the live stream for finals and it was a completely different back pose.
It was. They fixed it.
This is just not it. Foot stance is too close. And then it's almost like she's pulling her upper back way back. Like she's got an overarch, obviously, and she's using it the opposite way of what most people do, Yeah. And then those arms way up like on her stomach. So I don't really know what the thought process was behind this back pose. But it just didn't do her any justice.
Yes, but what I saw this back pose going into the show, and I was a little questionable too. But I was like, hey, we'll see it on stage. Who knows? And then I saw it on stage, and but finals look for Issa. If she would have brought that look to prejudging, this would have been a completely different topic of discussion. They completely fixed it.
Yep.
And James was very, very vulnerable. He said, I saw that back pose in prejudging, and I was like, nope. That doesn't work on stage.
Nope.
And again, this is why we do these things, right?
Yep.
I don't love anything about this back post from prejudging, but I know that they fixed it, and whatever was at finals and how the tweaks that they made was perfect. So I think that this weekend they're going to come with a much improved, perfect look.
Yeah. I had to laugh because I was, when she did this pose, I was like, the whole reason why everybody started doing lat flares in the bikini division was because of her Olympia win, because she did it during her Olympia win and nobody else ever did that. Then everybody started doing lat flares. So now everybody's trying to pose like this because she's posing like this. And thankfully she changed it for finals, and we know it didn't work because now this won't catch on.
Right. She's a trendsetter for posing.
Oh my God. Like people pay attention. That's for damn sure. They really pay attention.
I mean, I would too. That front pose is just, so people pay attention to her. And I know when they nail it, it's going to be that wow factor, because it did take my breath away when she came back out for finals. I was like, wow, they made some big changes fast. So
well, hopefully she'll come out and she'll nail all those things for this weekend.
Yes.
So bringing us to our winner, Ashlyn, which again, I was paying attention to pictures and videos, things like that. So from what I saw, I do feel like Ashlyn kind of nailed this. I couldn't really tell from like the live stream and everything, but it looked to me like she was a little bit fuller than Tampa. Even just looking at the photos, like it looks like she's tighter, but she's fuller. Like I felt like in Tampa, she was a little too hard. I felt like she kind of fixed that here. Now I could be wrong based on, what I was seeing, but what did you see in person?
No, you're 100% right. She was 100% max full. I mean, those glutes would pop in your face if they were any more full. Shoulders. and I will say too, she looked tighter than these photos in
Okay.
person. I
Okay.
think this it kind of distorts it a tad, because that waist was tight.
Yeah.
And just the same as when Issa came back to the finals, much improved. Ashlyn came back improved as well. She
Okay.
came back to the night show tighter and even more full. So, I mean, she just came out, like I said, and it was it. I mean, it
Yeah.
was it. Just the look from top to bottom. Now, when you go to the back pose, though, and if you kind of notice on her hair as well, her
Mm-hmm.
hair started to fall.
Okay.
And in the back pose, when we pull it up, you'll notice that her hair was sitting literally right
On
on
her
her
glutes.
glutes.
That's gotta be hard
Yeah,
too, because she's so short that it's you
exactly.
gotta you gotta trim your hair quite a bit in order to get those glutes to
Right.
show.
But you can tell that, I mean,
Yeah.
she got her hair done by V, and V posted this video of her, and I mean, her curls were tight and they were beautiful,
Yeah.
but you could tell they were falling here. I
They're
actually went up
falling.
and backstage before finals to help her kind of like ring her curls back in, but you could see it sitting right on the back of her hips there, and that's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of throwing off her waistline. You can't see how tight her waist is there because the hair
Yeah.
is so long.
Because of the hair.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, so that was really my only like knock on her.
Okay.
Other than that, though, God, it was a beautiful
Yeah.
package.
And I agree. Like, I don't think I would change. Like, again, now you're saying that these photos make her look a little bit softer, but I feel like this is a better look than what she had in Tampa here, even with the glutes. Like in Tampa,
Right.
I felt like she was diced. I don't feel
Yes.
like that. I don't feel like that here. I feel like she had the fullness. So again, going
Yes.
back to the comment of maybe coming in a little bit leaner, but then filling it all the way out. You know what I mean? So I feel like
Yes.
she filled it all the way out here.
Yes.
So I do think this was a better look. And that's got to feel good coming in and winning 2 shows back to back and beating a previous Olympia champion, all those kinds of things. Plus, she's from Texas, so I'm sure that was huge for her. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
she had her mom there. Her mom
yeah,
still lives in Texas. She had
yeah,
Bossy, her dog, there. I mean, it
yeah,
was probably just an extraordinary weekend for her. What a win. I mean, that was a big upset,
yep,
so
absolutely, yeah.
great
Nobody would
way
have
to
guessed that she was going to beat Issa. Nobody.
no,
In
no,
all the predictions, everybody was like, "No, it's going to be Issa."
Issa.
And
Yes.
that just shows you how volatile this sport is. You have to come in at 110%, or else you're screwed.
Yeah, and I was talking about this with another pro. I'm not going to say who it was, and they wanted to pull out of the show knowing that Issa was going to be there. And
Yeah.
I encouraged them to keep showing up, because I
Yeah.
said, you don't know what that person is going to do in the days leading up to the show, or how their
That's
body's
right.
going to respond. You just have to focus on you and coming in your best.
Yep.
And that's all you can control. But don't drop out of a show just because a competitor's showing up. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If we're in the pro league, you want to get up against the best.
That's right.
If you're trying to do well at the Olympia, you got to get up next to these girls so you can get
That's
that
right.
feedback and get that comparison. And you never know, it could be your day, and then you're knocking off a Miss Olympian.
And now
Miss
you're being
Olympia,
talked about as like, okay, she could be a potential top 5 athlete when she wasn't even placing last year. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Resume.
Yep. And it's all, we've talked about this before. This is all about human nature. It's like, as soon as you start making those kinds of moves, all of a sudden people are paying attention to you,
Yeah.
so you can use it to your advantage. And I encourage people to do that, especially if you're trying to move up into the Olympia and stuff like that. And like you said, you kind of want to do the Clash this weekend for that reason, but you have to pay attention to your own body and what you can do physically too. You know what I mean? So that's important as well. So
absolutely.
But so we've been on for a while tonight.
Sorry, ladies.
This is why we're starting a podcast, you guys. But everybody stuck around. Like, the numbers have stayed the same as far as the eyeballs. So everybody's sticking around listening. So they must be entertained. Are we entertaining? So for those of you that weren't on at the beginning of all of this, we are starting a podcast. We're going to do it once a week just to start and just to kind of get a feel for it. So if there's any kind of topics and things like that you guys want us to cover, we will be doing that. And we're going to start this coming week. And this will be not live. This is going to be something that we're going to record and post for you guys, so you can put it, pin it as your cardio theater and things like that. So, feel free to type in the comment section anything that you'd like us to talk about. Obviously it could be industry related or not. It can be relationships, it can be travel, it can be world events, it can be whatever, we'll talk about all the stuff. So like I said, behind the bikini is basically the theme here, meaning it's going to be everything encompassing our lives and stuff. So get a little bit personal, get a little bit more in depth on things than what we can just talking about other people like we do on these podcasts sometimes. So, feel free. This is going to be a podcast based on what you guys want to know in the sport and everything too. So feel free to type those in. You can also send them to us personally as well. So we're going to get that going for you all. So you have some, like we said, cardio theater.
I love that.
So with that, we're going to wrap up for this evening. Any closing thoughts that you wanted to leave with the ladies tonight?
No, I just want to say hi. I know everybody's saying hi, and I didn't get a chance to say hi to everyone. Hi, Christina. Hi, everybody. Hi to all my clients. Yeah, so we're really excited about the podcast. I mean, this is something that I've wanted to do for a while, and I just haven't had the right person or the right time. So, Sean, thank you for the opportunity. And I know I think that bringing our cuties together and all the fit body fusion athletes, it's just going to be such a good mashup. And I'm just excited to get back to the community. That's always what I want to do, and educate and share experiences. So I'm really, really excited just to continue. And I've had fun the last 2 weeks coming on here. So I was a little bummed it was almost over, but nope, it's just beginning.
Right? Yeah, no, we'll talk about everything. Like I was saying before, I mentioned this before, it's going to be a bro chat, but for girls.
Yes.
Like, so for those of you, I've given this plug a couple of times. For those of you that don't watch it, go watch bro chat and you'll get an idea of what we're going for. So, but it's going to be us. We'll bring on guests. We'll have some fun, but we're just going to kind of grow it and see where it goes and kind of see how you guys like it, things like that too, and take it as we go. So, with that, I appreciate all you guys sticking with us tonight. If you are not on the pre-registration list for Q's Conquering the Stage, that's what the QR code is up in the corner over there by Jordan. Do that. It's also in the description box, so you can click on the link there and go in and sign up for that. Jordan will be at Q's Conquering Stage this year as well, so we'll be there too. Other than that, I'll be on live tomorrow night again to preview this coming weekend, which is Masters Olympia. Masters Olympia is coming up. So we're going to preview that tomorrow, and then we'll roll from there. So with that, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, suitsandposing.com for all of your glam and stuff needs. And you can go to Jordan if you need coaching, or Jordan. I always go the wrong way for coaching. And with that, we're out. Have a great night, you guys.